Jake. Wolf was not the gunman who killed Jake, and Mark Curry knows that to be true. You understand? And East Coast War was more like Helena of Troy. When Puff got mad at Suge for being out there and allowing Misa to come out there to make money, however she was doing it, to feed her family, he vowed down that it's like, yo, I ain't never fucking with her again, and I ain't never fucking with him again. Puff and Suge had a conversation behind the House of Blues about was we all right, and Tupac was alive. Tupac wasn't dead. So if it was a war, Suge ain't having no conversation with Puff about we good. I know he could be doing a Hoboken hustle, trying to fool a brother, but had he killed my man or some shit like that, I wouldn't have no conversation with Puff. I'd been like, yo, you know what y'all niggas done? You know what happened? And it wasn't no conversation like that, brother. It wasn't no conversation whereas that, Suge made Puff feel like I'm gonna get you a payback for what happened to Jake. This was more so that Puff, for whatever reason, Suge, for whatever reason he was mad at Puff, and Puff, for whatever reason he was mad at Suge, it was between them two. It wasn't no whole East Coast wanted the West Coast dead, and the West Coast wanted East Coast dead, because they still was going out, still chilling, still at places with each other. It was Bad Boy, and it was Death Row. It was no East Coast and no West Coast. West Coast dudes were still coming out on the East Coast getting love. East Coast niggas was still going out on the West Coast getting love. It was Bad Boy versus Death Row. And that's what it was, bro. And it was because of the two CEOs. But Suge tried to straighten it out. I gotta get at the Suge. The Death Row East Coast was going to bring in Eric B. It was going to bring in Big D. And those brothers was from the East Coast. So now they was looking for a representative to come to the meeting from Bad Boy so they could straighten out the shit between Pac and Big and Death Row and Bad Boy. And Puff is the one who refused. Puff is the one to refuse to send a representative or either come himself, and got mad at Zip and them because they were in the Mirage on 57th Street partying with Suge Knight. Got mad at them, and Zip hung up the phone on behind that.
But what you mean by Mark Curry? He know who killed Big J?
It was some Jamaican dude from the Bronx. He's dead now. The police end up killing him at Magic City. I don't know his name. But Mark Curry know that it wasn't Wolf.
But when I was looking at the documentary, Kirk Burroughs, he did confirm that Big, he didn't want to go to LA. And they was actually getting warnings not to go to LA. But, Diddy, he wanted to go, man.
My man, yo, we must have had warnings, man. I didn't know. I knew that.
Gene Deal has officially broken his silence. And what he's saying right now has the internet buzzing heavy. That Netflix documentary about Diddy that everyone keeps arguing over? Yeah, turns out a whole lot didn't make it anywhere near the screen. According to Gene, the footage he gathered was labeled too sensitive, and Netflix wanted no parts of it at all. Now here's the real shocker. Gene says he's getting ready to reveal everything that even 50 Cent couldn't include, and people are already shook to the core. Let's keep it a buck. Nobody clicked this video for a watered-down story. You came for the raw version, the uncut truth, and that's exactly what's starting to spill out now. Gene Deal, Diddy's former bodyguard, the man who stood right there for years and saw everything up close, just sat down for a new interview. And this time, he's not holding anything back. Gene says he's speaking freely now, carefully but honestly, with nothing left to protect and no reason to stay quiet anymore. He's not yelling, he's not reckless, but he's finally saying what he claims has been buried for decades. Here's the part most people completely missed. Gene was originally supposed to be part of the Netflix documentary. He says he spoke with 50 Cent for close to 45 minutes, and from his perspective, everything felt solid and locked in. But behind the scenes, things shifted fast, and not in a good way. According to Gene, the relationship with the documentary team went left quick. He says he felt disrespected by the director, and once that line was crossed, he made a decision to walk away on his own terms. No blow-ups, no chaos, just a hard stop. Now Gene is opening the vault. He's talking about stories that never made the final cut, details that were completely left out, and moments the documentary barely touched at all. He's addressing the real background behind the City College incident, what truly happened with Anthony Wolf Jones.
Just seems strange. Could Puff have been involved in Tupac's murder or Biggie's murder?
I think that when you set up an atmosphere for something to happen, how involved are you? You set up the atmosphere. You put people in positions to get hurt. He knew that somebody was going to do something. He was told. I told him before we left. I told him. Mace told him. See, people ain't telling. See, everybody think that Gene Deal is the only one know this shit. I'm not the only one that's noticed and privileged to this information. I'm the only one that's speaking on it and has spoke on it. Now, people are coming out gradually, but when Puff set up an atmosphere for somebody to get hurt and they get hurt, don't you take some responsibility for that?
Is that more tactics? He's not going to pull the trigger. He might not even pay someone to do so, but like releasing that song Who Shot You, that creates an atmosphere, creating certain things and planting seeds in somebody else's mind to be number one, where Tupac ends up getting killed.
And the unanswered questions surrounding Kim Porter, all while being careful, fair, and grounded in what he says are actual facts. And here's where people really started side-eyeing everything. Gene claims certain high-profile celebrities paid serious money to keep their names far away from that documentary. Let that sink in. According to him, what viewers saw barely scratched the surface, and what stayed hidden might explain why certain rumors never went away. Before we even get into what Gene is revealing now, you have to understand the chaos behind the scenes, because it gets wild fast. Netflix and 50 Cent dropped Sean Combs' The Reckoning, and it shot straight to #1. Clips everywhere, non-stop debates, people reposting scenes like crazy, but there's a whole other side of the story that never aired. Gene Deal wasn't just around for a moment. He spent years as Diddy's bodyguard. He witnessed the parties, the business deals, the tension, the arguments, and the tragedies. Over time, Gene says he quietly gathered evidence, footage, and first-hand accounts, waiting for the right moment to speak responsibly and clearly. He truly believed this documentary was that moment. Gene even tried to bring in Tim and Kirk Burrows, two people who knew Diddy from the very beginning. Together, Gene believed they could have told the full timeline, from childhood roots to street history to the rise of the empire. Gene says he asked for $50,000 total to cover all three of them as a package. Considering the footage, the access, and the first-hand knowledge, he believed that was more than fair. But that's where everything took a sharp turn.
A new Netflix docuseries about Sean Diddy Combs is making headlines for its never-before-seen footage of the music mogul in the days before his arrest. Now, Combs is threatening legal action against the streamer for airing the unauthorized footage. Behind the series is Combs' longtime rap rival 50 Cent and director Alexandria Stapleton, who sat down with NBC News' Chloe Malas ahead of tonight's release.
I'm gonna put her on blast because she was telling me, she was saying to me that what I was asking for was crazy and they wasn't spending money like that. I'm talking about you got footage, you got clothing, you got, I was doing footage, I had pictures, all the stuff that I had, you could figure out a way to pay a brother and stuff like that. And then I was telling her about some prices that I've already received and I had the invoices to show it. And then she was calling me like I was lying. I was like, yo, who do you think you talking to? You know what I'm saying? And she was talking about, there's no way nobody paid. Nobody what? I say, first of all you people come with these documentaries and stuff, the first thing you tell me, y'all tell these people out here that y'all don't pay, and y'all pay. If you can make a picture look like $10,000, $15,000, you know what I'm saying? You can sit here and tell me that you gonna pay me for my time sitting right down here with y'all. You understand? So then, one thing led to another, and I was like, all right, well then, F you, I spoke to 50, and then she said 50, and this is exact words that came out her mouth. 50 does not determine what goes in and go out of this document.
Sounds reasonable, right? That's when things got messy fast. According to Gene, during a meeting, director Alex Stapleton dropped a line that completely changed the energy in the room. She allegedly told Gene that 50 Cent doesn't decide what goes in the documentary. She also said he doesn't control who gets paid. In other words, Gene claims she suggested 50's name was mostly being used for promotion, not control. That hit Gene sideways. He says he came prepared with invoices showing what other documentaries had paid him for similar work. He laid out receipts, proof, and clear facts. But instead of hearing him out, he claims she brushed it off and treated him like none of it mattered. Think about that. This is a man who put his life on the line protecting Diddy, witnessed serious situations firsthand, and spent years collecting evidence quietly. Yet Gene says he was talked down to like his experience held zero value. And here's where it gets even crazier. While Gene was trying to negotiate something fair for everyone involved, Kirk Burroughs was allegedly making quiet side moves of his own. That's the industry for you. Everybody watching their own pockets first. Gene believed in fairness. He wanted Tim, Kirk, and himself compensated equally. But once Gene discovered Kirk was cutting his own deal behind the scenes, that was the final straw. Gene walked away completely. That's why the Netflix documentary feels incomplete. The one person with the deepest firsthand knowledge refused to participate. And now Gene says he's ready to explain what was left out, starting with something the documentary barely touched. Let's talk about how Bad Boy Records was really structured, because this part explains everything. From the start, Kirk Burroughs owned 25% of Bad Boy Records. Diddy controlled the remaining 75%, but here's the twist. It wasn't under his own name.
From wanting to be him, idolize a motherfucker, he idolized Tupac because you gotta realize when a woman looked at Tupac, they probably wanted him. Puff wasn't getting that type of fever from girls. You understand what I'm saying? Puff had to use his money, Puff had to use his position in order to get women. Now I seen him with some bad joints, and I used to look at them like this, like, not on no hating shit, but like, you wouldn't be here if he wasn't puffed.
Gene says the company was placed under Diddy's mother's name, Janice Combs. Why do that? According to Gene, it was a move designed to reduce legal exposure and protect assets if lawsuits started piling up. Gene claims Diddy already expected legal trouble after the City College tragedy. There was an event where 9 people lost their lives and lawsuits were inevitable. Keeping the company out of his own name created distance and protection. According to testimony Kirk later shared, things eventually took a dark turn. Kirk claimed Diddy showed up with a baseball bat and forced him to sign away his 25% stake under threat. Years later, Kirk tried to sue in 2003, but the case was dismissed because too much time had passed. Let that sink in. A co-founder who helped build Bad Boy from the ground up lost everything. The documentary mentioned this, but barely. Gene says the real story never got told. Now things get even darker. Gene says there's a death-related story the documentary almost completely ignored, and it centers on Anthony "Wolf" Jones. Wolf wasn't just anyone. He was Bad Boy's head of security from day one. Before the fame, before the big labels, before the industry power plays. He knew how everything operated behind closed doors. According to Gene, Wolf knew too much. He understood how problems were handled, how disputes got smoothed over, and who really controlled what. Gene claims decisions made by Diddy played a role in setting off the chain of events that led to Wolf's death.
Incident of the Quad Studio shit. Like in the documentary, they was talking about that, right? You know what I'm saying? They talked about the Quad Studio shit, but they didn't mention the fact, and they left it out, that Big and C's did not know that Puff and Andre Harrell was in Jimmy Henchman's office the day Pac got killed. The day Pac got shot at Quad Studio. Let me repeat that again so it don't get mixed up in the whole thing. They did not mention that Andre Harrell and Puff Daddy and Jimmy Henchman were all in the office together. Puff was on the office because he was trying to spy on Big them, because Big was writing the Junior Mafia stuff and Puff had his publishing. I told this to a couple of people before, I said it before, and you got people that's running with it like they knew the story in the whole 9 yards. You understand? They'll lie and you ask them, how do you know that? Who told you? They couldn't even tell you that. They'll tell you some lie, they did some kind of investigation, but it didn't happen like that. You understand? Puff was there to spy on Big because he had owned Big Publishing, and Big had turned around, and the same people who helped Puff get Big Publishing told Big to turn and put Tatiana or put somebody else's name on his publishing, or give it to Lil C's or whoever, this, that, and the third that he wrote for, so he can get the money from it. So that's how that went down. So they was there to spy on Big. In the interim of him being there to spy on Big, Jimmy Henchman told them that they finna show Pac, teach Pac a lesson, because Pac had owed him some money. So that's why he was up in the studio and was coming to the studio. Pac owed him some money. Pac owed him some money. He was gonna work it off and get some money from doing a song with Lil Sean. And that's what that was about. But Pac was talking greasy to Jimmy Henchman, and Jimmy Henchman wasn't the type of dude that you talk greasy to, alleged, unless you 50 Cent.
So Diddy knew what was going to happen to Pac.
He knew Pac was about to deal well. Yeah, he was there to see it. He was there to see it. He wasn't only there to see Big them. When Jimmy Henchman told him that, he was there to see what's going to happen to Pac. He was there for that. Because had he not been there for that, he would have went up there in the office. He would have went to the studio or the studio session with Big them. He would have went to that studio session with Big them. He knew what room Big them was in. He didn't do that. He was there to see what was going to happen to Pac after Jimmy told him.
Gene also says the documentary team didn't have the background or the courage to dig into this story properly. Wolf was reportedly killed by someone connected to BMF, a name tied to serious street activity in hip-hop history. Gene claims there's a direct connection between Wolf's death and the bad boy inner circle. Yet the documentary barely acknowledged him. A few photos, a quick mention, and that was it. Why skip it? Because this story comes with real danger, real consequences, and real names. According to Gene, Wolf's death wasn't random at all. It was tied into everything else. And brace yourself, because the next part makes people angry. The City College tragedy. Gene Deal says the documentary didn't tell the full truth, not even close. Gene was actually there that night. On December 28th, 1991, Diddy organized a celebrity basketball game at City College in New York, promoted as a charity event with big names expected. And according to Gene, that's where everything went wrong. Big names were lined up that night. Mike Tyson, LL Cool J, and other major celebrities were scheduled to attend, and the energy was already off the charts. Gene Deal knew exactly what kind of crowd Harlem pulls when stars show up, so he came prepared. Gene's security team was originally hired to handle the outside of the event. He had 18 trained security professionals ready to go, dogs included, controlled entry points mapped out, and real crowd management plans in place. This wasn't amateur work, this was experience, exclamation, exclamation, exclamation. Gene understood the pressure. He knew how fast excitement can turn into chaos when celebrities walk in. But then, the day before the event, everything changed without warning. According to Gene, Diddy told him that Heavy D no longer wanted his security team involved. Just like that, no explanation, no backup plan, no outside security at all. Gene was completely removed from the setup. The night of the event, chaos exploded almost instantly. Thousands of people rushed the building trying to get inside. And when Mike Tyson and LL Cool J entered through the front entrance instead of the secured back way, the crowd surged hard. That moment changed everything, and people rushed forward all at once, bodies packed tight, no breathing room, no space to move. The stairwell turned into a nightmare zone, and this is the part the documentary barely touched. Gene says people were being crushed with nowhere to go. Panic spread fast. Folks couldn't turn around, couldn't escape, couldn't even lift their arms. This wasn't just disorder, it was deadly. Gene Deal says there was another promoter involved named Jessica Rosenblum. She worked alongside Diddy and Heavy D on the event. When she saw the crowd surge, Gene claims she panicked, but not over people's safety. According to Gene, her focus was the money box, all the cash from ticket sales. Gene claims she grabbed the money and locked the door at the bottom of the stairwell to protect it. That single move sealed everyone inside. When that door locked, hundreds of people were trapped in a tight stairwell with no exit, no airflow, no escape, no chance. 9 people lost their lives that night. 9 young lives crushed because a door was locked to protect cash. Sit with that for a second. Gene says that one decision turned chaos into a full-blown tragedy. He couldn't even reach the stairwell at first because the crowd density was too heavy. He had to sprint around the entire gym, find another entrance, and force his way inside. By the time Gene started opening doors from the inside, it was already too late for some. He says those moments still haunt him. Gene performed CPR on a 17-year-old boy. The boy didn't make it. His older brother stood there crying, repeating, This is the first time I ever took my little brother anywhere. My mom is gonna kill me. That moment never left Gene. Gene witnessed everything firsthand. He says he knows exactly who locked the door and how it all went down. Yet, according to him, no one was ever truly held accountable. Jessica Rosenblum's name appeared briefly in old articles, but there were no charges, no real consequences, no justice. That silence speaks loud. The documentary mentioned the City College tragedy, but it focused mostly on Diddy and Heavy D. It never explained why Gene's security team was removed. It never addressed the locked door. It never talked about money being protected while lives were lost. Gene says he tried to tell this story during production, but it was cut completely. And once you realize that, the questions start piling up fast. Now let's talk about why Gene really walked away from the documentary, because the behind-the-scenes drama is just as intense as the stories themselves. Gene put together a package deal with Tim and Kirk Burrows. 3 voices, 3 perspectives. Tim knew the childhood and early history. Kirk knew the contracts and business structure. Gene knew the security, the streets, and how situations were handled under pressure. Together, they could have told the full story from every angle. But once director Alex Stapleton entered the picture, everything started falling apart fast. Gene says her energy shifted in a strange way. She allegedly told him the amount he was asking for was crazy money and claimed the production didn't have that kind of budget. Gene pushed back hard. He showed invoices from other documentaries that paid him similar amounts. He brought receipts, real proof, not just talk. But according to Gene, she brushed it off like it meant nothing. Then she said something that stuck with him for all the wrong reasons. Gene claims she told him that 50 Cent doesn't decide what goes in the documentary. She also said 50 doesn't control who gets paid. She made it clear his name was mainly being used for promotion, not actual control. Think about that for a second. The entire project was marketed around 50 Cent exposing Diddy. Their long-running rivalry was the selling point. But Gene says behind the scenes, 50 didn't actually have final say. That didn't sit right with Gene at all. He's been sharing these stories on his own platform for years. He says he has real evidence, documents, photos, footage, and yet felt treated like his voice didn't matter. Meanwhile, things got even messier. Gene says Kirk Burrows started calling him, pushing him to accept less money. Then Gene discovered Kirk was quietly negotiating his own separate deal behind everyone's back. That's how the industry moves sometimes. Everybody watching their own pockets. Once Gene realized what was happening, he shut everything down. He scrapped the package deal and walked away completely. That's why the documentary feels unfinished. That's why key stories are missing. The person with the deepest first-hand knowledge refused to participate after feeling pushed aside. Another part that bothered viewers was how little the documentary said about Kim Porter. Diddy's former partner and the mother of his children passed away in 2018 at just 47 years old. The official cause was pneumonia, but many people still have questions. Kim was around for years. She saw the lifestyle, the business, the private side, and yet the documentary barely addressed her at all. Multiple sources say that topic was considered too sensitive and deliberately avoided. Gene says he knew Kim personally, helped protect her at times, and had information, but none of it made the final cut. They showed a few photos, mentioned her role, and moved on fast. For someone so central to Diddy's life, that silence stands out. Now let's talk about the parties. Diddy hosted massive gatherings for decades. Actors, musicians, athletes, politicians, everybody showed up. So why does the documentary barely touch that world? Where are the real stories? Gene believes powerful people stepped in to protect themselves. According to Gene, some A-list celebrities allegedly paid to keep their names far away from the documentary. Careers, families, reputations, all on the line. Gene believes 50 accepted that reality. He's a businessman first. His main focus was Diddy, not burning everyone else. And because of that, what we got was a sanitized version. A trimmed down story that shields powerful names while putting everything on one person. Gene says he sees right through it. And finally, let's talk about celebrities staying quiet. Someone asked Marlon Wayans if he watched the documentary, and his answer raised eyebrows. He said he hasn't seen it and probably won't. Then he called it a narrative, saying when you piece things together a certain way, you can create any story you want. That comment alone had people talking heavy. So why would Marlon Wayans say something like that? Is he defending Diddy? Or is he calling out the documentary for being one-sided and selective? Or maybe, and this is what a lot of people believe, Marlon has his own experiences he doesn't want dragged into the spotlight at all. There have been industry rumors floating around for years. Nothing confirmed. Just whispers people don't say too loud. But when Marlon refuses to even watch the documentary and starts talking about narratives and programming, it makes people stop and think. That reaction alone has folks wondering what he knows and why he wants no part of it. According to Gene Deal, there are plenty of stories involving well-known names. But he claims those people didn't want their business exposed, so they stayed far away from the project altogether. Silence can be loud in this industry. Now let's get into one of the most controversial parts of the entire documentary, the behind-the-scenes footage of Sean Combs before his arrest. This is where things start feeling real murky. The documentary shows Diddy in a New York hotel room talking to his lawyer on speakerphone. He's discussing strategy, reacting to media coverage, and trying to figure out his next move. These were private moments that were never meant for the public. That footage came from a videographer Diddy personally hired. Maybe he planned to release his own documentary later. Maybe he just wanted everything recorded. Either way, someone was right there filming him non-stop. Here's the issue. That footage was Diddy's property. There were NDAs. There were contracts. And yet somehow, it ended up inside 50 Cent's documentary. Diddy's legal team reportedly sent a cease and desist to Netflix, calling the footage unauthorized and demanding the documentary be pulled. Netflix responded by saying the footage was obtained legally, but never explained how. 50 Cent hasn't said where it came from. The videographer hasn't spoken publicly either. That silence alone has people questioning everything. Gene floated a theory that makes people uncomfortable. He says Diddy has a reputation for not paying people on time. Maybe the videographer felt burned and sold the footage. Another theory is someone else stepped in with a better offer. Is the footage legal? Nobody outside that inner circle really knows. But Gene says the situation looks questionable and raises serious concerns about how transparent the documentary really was. And this matters because Gene says he has first-hand experience with how Diddy behaved behind closed doors, things that never made it to camera and were never addressed publicly. One of the most telling stories Gene shares involves protecting Misa Hilton, the mother of Diddy's first son. After Gene stopped working for Diddy, Misa reached out and asked him to be her personal security. Gene says she wanted to live her life freely, but she was genuinely afraid. According to him, she knew what Diddy was capable of and didn't feel safe moving around alone. Gene charged her $2,250 for a few hours of protection and made one thing crystal clear. If Diddy showed up and saw her with Gene, nothing would happen. Diddy knew exactly who Gene was, and Gene wasn't scared. The documentary also included a story from Eric's sermon, and it backed up what Gene has been saying for years. Eric talked about a moment when he was riding with Misa and Diddy allegedly showed up and attacked her in the street. Eric said Diddy tried to pull him into it, asking him to fight. Eric chose to walk away. Gene says that part still bothers him deeply. Gene says if someone in his car was attacked, he would have stepped in no matter who the attacker was. That's just how he moves. Gene openly states that Diddy had a long-standing issue with violent behavior toward women. According to him, this wasn't shocking or hidden in industry circles. People knew. They just stayed quiet because Diddy had money, power, and influence. When the hotel hallway footage involving Cassie Ventura surfaced, the public was stunned, but Gene says that behavior wasn't new at all. The only difference was, this time there was video that couldn't be ignored. So, after watching the full documentary, what does Gene Deal actually think about it? He says he watched closely, took notes, and his opinion is blunt. To him, it was mostly old news. Gene says much of what was shown had already been known behind the scenes for years. The intimidation, the control, the manipulation, it wasn't new information. It was just packaged neatly for mainstream viewers. The only part Gene found genuinely interesting was the behind-the-scenes footage before the arrest. Seeing Diddy stress, talk to lawyers, and react to pressure felt raw and real. Everything else? Gene says once you watch it, there's no reason to go back. It didn't go deep enough. It didn't push far enough. And it avoided the people who should have been questioned the hardest. Gene believes he could have added real depth, real receipts, and real context. But he says the production didn't want that. They wanted something safe that could pull views without putting powerful people at risk. In Gene's eyes, the documentary framed Diddy as the lone villain, but he says that's not the full truth. Many people knew what was happening, stayed silent, and walked away untouched. Their names weren't mentioned. Their roles weren't explored. Their secrets stayed buried. And that's exactly why Gene calls the documentary incomplete. Here's the key takeaway. Gene Deal has been telling these stories for years. Long before Netflix and long before 50 Cent got involved, he's spoken on podcasts, YouTube, and his own platforms, sharing what he witnessed firsthand. Now it's on you. What part of this story shocked you the most? What do you think should have been included but wasn't? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Hit that like button if this breakdown brought clarity. Share it with anyone following this story, and don't forget to subscribe to DripDish for more real talk. Stay sharp, stay aware. I'll see you on the next one.